Remember us? Well, it's March, so let's get to some Braves talk. Fuck Drake. Welcome to Braves Talk, everybody. It's the Iceman, Matt Freites. That is the coach, Brad Powell, and the OG, Rick Powell. We are back, fellas. Welcome. It's good to see that face after 35 days.
It has been. 35 days is a long time. January and February collectively are just long months.
I hate them.
Yeah, it's
fucking
tough.
hate them.
And here we are, though, at the end of February, putting a cap on it tonight. We got a lot of basketball to talk about, a lot of Bradley basketball to talk about. Arch Madness right around the corner, but also super pumped to be back here. Happy to be back with the fans of Braves Talk and looking forward to what is to come.
How you doing, Rick?
I'm here.
Awesome.
Obviously, the layoff has done Rick wonders in terms of making it engaging here at Braves Talk. So, fellas, if you will indulge me, I do want to start off somewhat on a personal note. And again, I want to say this because I think it's important as to why there's been such a layoff. And when you're creators, I think a lot of people don't understand like what happens behind the scenes. I think everybody in this group, especially in the chat, like they get it, right? We're all fans. And this is not meant to be a political statement in any way because I try to be as apolitical as possible. But the last month or so for me has been very, very difficult. I've had 20 years of federal service, worked really hard. And the last month has been, I'll just say, uncertain for me and for my wife. And there's been a lot happening. And Brad can attest, he's asked me probably once a week for the last month or so, do you want to do Braves Talk? And he can attest to this too. It's been weird for me to say no because I just don't have the energy to do a lot of stuff with everything that is happening. And I say that because I want you to know that I love doing this show. I love what we've created here because it's for you. It's for the fans. And you all have made this fun for us. And so for me to not be a part of bringing that to everybody, it has taken a toll on me in some way. And I wanted everybody to know that. And I want to just say that I'm back. My headspace is a lot better than it has been. And I'm ready to get to Arch Madness. So thank you, fellas, for giving me the space to sort of talk about that. It's been a month.
Yeah, man, I know it has. And you and I talk a lot about a lot of things. And I think that you and I and our friendship are kind of really should be a model of like the way everyone should treat each other, right? Through, just difference of opinion, but also caring about each other and really like on a very personal level. And I think you and I have kind of got that on lockdown, which is a special thing. I think that it's awesome to have this. And, kind of one thing that's funny is I feel like having that group chat that we have on X is almost like it's made it, dare I say, easier to go without Braves Talk because we were having Braves Talk every day in that group chat constantly, just like 24 hours a day. We were knocking it out. And so it's kind of like we're going to get on here and talk about it, which is great to do. I love this, but we're likely going to hash out things that we've been talking about for the last month in the group chat. Yeah. So it's great, though. I'm so happy we have that following. And I know that, it's really become a community, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I see that. Because the only reason I have Twitter is because I don't really like social media to begin with. Brad can kind of tell you that. But I have it because I can see the chat. And I've been paying attention. I've been paying attention to what y'all are talking about. I've been paying attention to the vibes that have been in that chat. And believe it or not, that's probably been the reason why I've been able to sort of stay kind of afloat in wanting to do this because I see that it's there. And so in my mind, it's like an ember that is burning that says, you'll get back to this one day. And so we're back, okay? And I just wanted to get that out of the way, say thank you to everybody for just, that chat is devoid of everything that's happening in the world because it seems like it gets into everything, right? It doesn't matter what it is, what you believe. You rarely find spaces where you can just be people. And I love this show. I love that chat. And look, folks, we're fucking back, okay? I'm fucking back, and let's fucking do this. I'm ready.
Right.
Yep, you got the mic.
Yeah. Okay.
So here's
Matt.
the thing, right? February is the shortest month of the year at 28 days, and it was probably the longest month for the Braves, right? A ton of stuff happened, wins, losses. Kevin lost his shit in the chat multiple times. Like, things have happened. But we turn over the calendar
Kevin.
to March, which is a month of hope, right? Kevin's probably losing his shit now at a high school basketball game. So, like, you kind of know, like, the more things change, the more things stay the same. But, Brad, I kind of want you to walk us through what February was like for the Braves, because a lot of stuff happened.
Absolutely. And you got something you're pointing at me. So
I wanted to ask Matt, because we haven't talked in several weeks.
Yes.
How do you feel about Drake? Say it.
Fuck Drake. Is that better?
There you go.
I mean, he said at the top. I don't know if you caught that. He said at the very beginning of the show. But all right. So yes, February has been a weird month for the Braves. Been a long month for the Braves. We've been through ups and downs. No doubt about that. Obviously, starting the month out, I know that the UIC game was the tail end of January. I was going to pretend it was in February. Starting the month out, dropping 3 in a row to UIC, Northern Iowa, and Belmont. A rough stretch. It was. I can't read it. It was a rough stretch. I know how rough it is for us as fans, and we're not the ones that are pouring ourselves into this on a daily basis through practices and everything else. I can only imagine what it would have been like inside that locker room. But the Braves come back strong and get three wins in a row, right? With Evansville, SIU, and then, of course, beating Drake at Drake, which was fantastic. Nice to get that win. Obviously, we follow that up to with a loss to a team who shall not be named that's just down the street. And then we come back home, get an overtime win over Murray State. And the Rally Towels, I want to shout out the Rally Towels a little bit because I said this in the chat, I was kind of like, weird idea. Not a weird idea, but just it didn't do anything for me. I thought the environment that it created was fantastic. I thought it was awesome. And so I was really pleasantly surprised. And I thought the fans got into it and really embraced the Rally Towels. And then obviously, we got the win at Valpo, which was a nice win to get. And, that's a team that's on the rise. They're not where they want to be, but there's no denying that as a basketball program, Roger Powell has them trending in the right direction, which will only be good for the league. Obviously, we want Bradley to beat everybody, but I want everybody else to beat everyone else, right? We want the league to be good. That's the only path to multi-bids in the future. So I'd like to see these teams be successful. There's plenty we could belabor about what's happened in February. I don't know that any of us necessarily want to do that. But, Dad, I will reluctantly turn the mic over to you so that you can maybe highlight a few things that you may want to mention.
This man is a degenerate. He's a degenerate, okay?
Highlight a few things that you may want to mention about February before we talk about a couple other things.
All right. I just want to hit on one game only, and that's because it pertains to the next game up for us on Sunday against Northern Iowa. And it has to be about our worst game from our starters, our seniors since they came to Bradley. But we lost by 14. We had 50 points scored by Marion Birch, Bully, and Meta. 50 points between them three. And we only had 9 points scored between Darius, Zeke, Christian Davis, and Duke. 3 of them only had 2 points each. Another one had 3. So that is something we cannot have Sunday. Them 4 guys have got to step up.
I think you're going to get a agreement from all of us about that. And I think some other things we want to highlight, though, from the month of February is Duke Dean seems to have kind of found his game. He's been on fire from behind the arc. And, the numbers have been thrown around in the group chat, and so I won't belabor those. But he's just turned into a downright assassin from behind the arc. I mean, making one from nearly the logo the other night in Valparaiso. And it's nice to see him returning to form. And then, I'll call it the reemergence of Jaquan Johnson, because, he did have a stretch there where he kind of was kind of disappeared a little bit for a few games, towards the end of January, maybe early February, but he's really come back around and found himself and found his game. And I tell you what, like him and Demarion Birch, they bring a spark to this team that it desperately needs, especially when things maybe aren't going well. Those guys can come in and really jumpstart things. And just the physical tools that Bully has is something that doesn't really exist throughout the rest of the roster. And so he's the kind of guy that comes in and changes a game. and he's going to be invaluable down the stretch here as we head into Arch Madness. And then obviously, maybe lesser regarded, but still important is Almar's return, kind of to the lineup, to playing more minutes and things like that. He seems to have found a shot a bit, which is nice. I do wish, I'll say this, it drives me absolutely crazy how often, like, he's a catch and shoot guy, and how often he passes up, or pump fakes. It's like, just shoot the damn thing. And whatever, and I get it, and I'm not him. I'm saying that as, I wouldn't make it or whatever. I mean, I'd probably get stuff right in my face, but I'm just like, man, just let it go. But, whatever. I'm glad to have him back. Glad that he's shooting the ball better, because we're going to need him on the stretch. What do you got, Dad?
Well, remember, we talked about this a lot. Like, I don't want to say we were hard on Almar early in the season, especially on this show, and we all wanted him to pick it up. So, I mean, at least that month has had that kind of change for us, because I just remember us all kind of being like, he kind of needs to sit out and maybe figure some things out. So, silver lining.
And kudos to him, because a lot of people would crumble under those circumstances, right? I mean, not everyone, even Division I athletes, not everyone handles that type of adversity well. And so, kudos to Almar for taking coaching, which I'm sure he did, and putting the work in to find him, to get his game back in form and find his way back onto the floor.
Sorry, he's still a little gun shy, I think, still shooting. But I remember the one game, I think I scared my grandson. I don't remember who they were playing, but he got the ball on a quick pass and, had, a second or two wide open, and he let the guy go flying past him and then dribbled in and then got called for double dribble, and I came out of my seat screaming, shoot the damn ball, top of my lungs. I don't generally get that loud, but that game I was pretty animated for at least that one play. But yeah, it was, he needs to get it and shoot it when he's got that second. I think he'll find his stroke there.
Kramer, you'll come to learn that actual stats and facts are not important to us.
Correct.
Here at Braves. we just draw bold conclusions off of just pure gut feeling. No, but you're right. I mean, the production hasn't been what it was, but I feel like he's played better. Like, again, it's just such a feel, right? It's not based on any fact. Shame on us, but he's certainly, he went, whatever that stretch was back in January, X amount of games not making a bucket. I don't know. I feel like he's finding his way back. And really what it comes down to is we need him to. And maybe I'm just trying to speak it into truth, right? We really need him to keep improving and to be a threat from behind the arc, to play better defense without fouling. I mean, there's a lot there that needs to be talked about. And, Kenny, you just mentioned it there. Yeah, the reemergence of Hannah has been very important. When he's ready to go, and I actually have it later on in our notes.
It's like they know.
And, well, I have it in the next part, in the next part of our notes. This team goes as the three big seniors go, as Duke and Darius, maybe Zeke to a lesser extent. As those guys go, this team goes. And we've really seen a huge step up from Duke and Darius here over the last couple of weeks. And it's been needed. And it's been what we've all hoped for. You would hope that with this being their last season, their last shot at, winning a championship, getting to the NCAA tournament, you would hope that motivation would be there. And it appears that it is. And that's exactly what this team needs.
It's easy for you to say.
Right. What's that, Dad?
I'm agreeing with Kevin here. It comes down to,
you can read
that. He'd argue Duke, Darius, and
sure,
Kwani.
I get that. Yes. Jaquan, but while he's taken on a larger role, I don't think that his output dictates kind of like the whole, like the moxie of the team, right? I think that if you look around and your leaders are struggling, especially if they seem to be struggling from, maybe mentally to some degree, they're just maybe not engaged for whatever reason. And this is not me taking any shots whatsoever. If your leaders are struggling in some way, shape, or form, I think that the rest of the team feels that. And if your leaders are really feeling it and playing well, I just think it's contagious either way, in the positive sense or the negative sense. I don't think that, Jaquan's quite, I don't think he has that much of an impact on how the rest of the team plays. Now, from the outside looking in, I think that he definitely, like I said, I think he changes the game. I think he brings energy. I'm not denying that for a second, but I don't know if it packs the same punch as it does when you get it from guys like Duke and Darius.
Well, I think with Bully is that throughout the year he's acquired from the rest of the team their confidence in him, and that makes a difference. I mean, he had to prove his way through the first half of the year and part into the conference season, but over the last 3 weeks, I mean, it's like Bully has just emerged, and arguably, I would say he's probably as good, if not better, of a floor general than Duke is. I mean, he's going to challenge to lead by the time he's done here. If he stays, he's going to challenge the top leaders all time history in assists. He's just, that's the trend I think I'm seeing from him.
Well, and I like what's going on in the chat right now talking about CD because, I think that he's not scoring at the same clip that maybe he was earlier in the season, like he did down in Myrtle Beach and things like that. But he does do a lot of little things. You said, Aaron calls him an X factor, and he does. He does a lot of little things that that help keep the team in the game, rebounding. And I mean, he plays pretty well defensively most of the time as well, which is great to see. And you mentioned this, Dad, talking about Jaquan is if we can keep him. And I cannot tell you how much I despise the fact that we even have to say that after talking about somebody. If we can keep him, God, let's keep him. Let's keep him, man. Let's find a way to keep him. And I think that, there's one thing, Wardle always tells these guys, give me 2 years, so it's like, let's hope that, Jaquan's willing to give him 2 years. And, by the end of next year, this team's rolling and he's like, hey, I'm going to stay because this is a team that can play for a championship. And we'll have the pieces around him, and hopefully, Home of the Brave does their work, and we're ready to turn Jaquan into a Bradley legend by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, well, the other player I think is getting a little bit of a short stick, and you said give him 2 years, and this is his second year, and that's Birch. He is, to me, he's your number one in-house target to make sure you get him signed back for next year is Birch. And I think he's got a little bit of short stick as far as getting some playing time here of late. For whatever reason, I knew he was sick, and he's had the foot injury, or ankle injury earlier in the year, but, slowed him down a little bit. But I hope he is vision enough, and maybe even Zeke can talk to him. Maybe Hick can talk to him. Well, give him a phone call.
Well, and we talked about that in the group chat, man. Like, I think that there's a track record, right? Guys that have left and maybe regretted leaving, or in Zeke's case, left and came back. And you would hope maybe they can share some of that wisdom with these younger guys. But at the end of the day, man, we know what this is all about. Unfortunately, like, money talks. But is it weird to say that, like, as unfortunate as it's been for this team because of Demarian's his injuries and illness, like, he missed a good stretch of time. And the fact that he hasn't played a lot through the meat of the season. And I mean, obviously he's playing a lot now. He's going to play a lot down the stretch. But does that benefit Bradley in some weird way that maybe like fewer people may come calling because of how much time he missed this year, that maybe he didn't have the impact he could have had? And so maybe there won't be as many suitors. That's kind of a thought. And also at the same time, I think that playing time becomes a concern, right? When you look at a couple of guards coming in, and I mean, yeah, we're losing Zeke, Duke, put Duke and Zeke together, but we're losing Duke and Zeke. And, so obviously there's a void to be filled, but we got a couple studs coming in also as freshmen. And that rotation will be interesting because I don't know, like at a place like Bradley, how do you keep all those guys happy? Because there's only one ball to go around in so many minutes. How do you keep all those dudes engaged?
I mean, and at this stage of the season, I mean, it's hard to discuss too in depth for next year because the portal issue, who are you going to get coming in? Who else are going to sign, such like that. But this year especially, there's a number, even on some of the the worst teams in the league. There's all right. There's a couple other good freshmen. The guy in Evansville.
Let's just call him that. The guy in Evansville.
Yeah,
perfect.
The kid. It begins with a P. It's Italian name.
Guy in the Evansville. Guy in the Evansville that begins with a P. Italian name.
Kramer. Remember how we were talking about no facts? There you go. It's right in. Perfect.
But anyway, I mean, there's some quality freshmen that have come up and have scored. So I don't want to discount and just put a blanket statement. They're freshmen. we can't rely on freshmen coming in. Well,
I don't think anybody thinks that.
Well, there's a few boards I'm on it. I think some people just purely write off all freshmen. I said, let's wait and see what they bring. You know,
come on. Anybody that knows any ball is in the X group chat. All right.
That's right.
The people that exclusively function on message boards are fossils.
That's right.
Come on.
Because they're not here.
Absolutely.
Well, that's why they I think some of them, one is, but they get really ridiculous at something.
I'm sure they do.
I can't imagine that anything like that ever happens on a message board.
Absolutely
anywhere.
Not. Absolutely not. Every message board out there is just totally on point and totally
there you go.
Just, boom.
Mungie's got
very,
it.
very rational, much like the group chat.
See, he comes down from his Hulk rage every once in a while to give us some actual facts. So thank you so much, Kevin. But I want to ask you a question, guys, because all this talk about recruiting and all that and roster moves. I want to talk about Coach for a second, and not to be critical, but I think one thing that happened over the last month or so is I think Coach tried to get some crowd response. Now, on this show and even offline, we've kind of talked about the fickle nature of the Bradley fan base. Everybody who's here, everybody who's in the group chat, we're in it to win it, right? But we've also talked about getting attendance up, how many tickets are being sold. And it seemed like the response wasn't what Coach wanted. And there was a little criticism in terms of the fan base and things like that. So I wanted to get each of your opinions. Rick, we'll start with you.
I'm 100% backing from Wardle, trying to get him up. And then there's a section that just kind of didn't respond. And I'm like, you're going to have that,
Yep.
And I think Coach does understand that. I mean, Bradley fans are very passionate. The ones that are in game after game, they're in this, on this podcast, participating. We're all very passionate fans. And we spend a lot of time. We spend money on season tickets. A lot of us do, or even tickets to get to many games we can. Some even travel to road games. And we love our Bradley Braves. Many of us have been here long before the coaching staff, the current players have been here, and we'll be here long after all of them are gone. I hope Coach accepts it. And in a lot of cases, a lot of us do have, I feel, maybe a right to have our opinions, or not like how some things are done. But, hey, we win. That's what we want to do. We want to see winning all the time. If we can go undefeated every year, I mean, that's what we want. And I know that's what Coach would love, but that's not a reality. So that's kind of basically all I got to say. I'm behind him. I want to see the fans get into it. And then there's that section of group that, I think the section he was trying to, are the fans that will sit there and someone stands up in front of them, they yell at them, tell them to sit down. So,
Yeah, and there's probably some truth to that. I mean, I think that's changing. A lot of, and this is no shade at the older. What's that? Well, yeah, they're dying off. There's no shade at the older fan. I mean, those people have put a lot of time into Bradley basketball, and so not throwing any shade at them at all whatsoever. And but I will say this. What?
I got it.
Okay,
Aaron,
just
Aaron,
interrupt.
Aaron,
just interrupt.
I got you. I do. I totally understand that. 14-0. That's really disheartening. And it really, puts me back in my seat. That's really disheartening. But I think also as a fan, and a lot of times, and it did happen throughout that game. I mean, it wasn't for the fans when they started hitting, and we just stayed and supported them guys. We need to support them when they go down and even harder when they come up and start getting back into the game. But yeah, I totally get you, Aaron. Down 14-0.
Yeah, nobody liked that. Okay, so here's my thing. I'll say this. I don't nobody in the building is happy with being at 14-0 or 14-2 or whatever the case, right? But I don't condone. I would never be. I shouldn't say this because I don't criticize any. You do you. I would never boo necessarily under those circumstances. I was not happy with the way things are going. I'm not going to boo the players, so I can understand, maybe not liking that. And he didn't reference that, I don't think, at any point. But Coach has set the bar for the expectation, right? I mean, you can't turn around and slam your fists on the scorer's table in frustration because you're unhappy with the way things are going on the floor and then be pissed when the fans are also unhappy with the way that things are going on the floor, right? And you've set the standard for what the expectation should be. And so, to some degree, my stance is, hold on a minute. To some degree, that's why I got you muted. To some degree, you can't sit there and get on the radio and be like, we need our fans, we need our fans, we need our fans. as long as you show up and you cheer the way that we'd like you to cheer. You know what I mean? Like you can't have your cake and eat it too, so to say. Like you've set the bar for what Bradley basketball is. Your fans are here, and I think it is sort of the responsibility of the fan base to like uphold that standard. Like, hey, this is the expectation, right? And if you want to fault the fan base for being passionate, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, because there's certainly worse things that a fan base could be other than passionate. And this fan base is. And so that's kind of where I'm at. It's like you can't express the the guy's a very emotional guy, and I love that. I love the fact that he was trying to get the crowd in the game. I love the fact that he's emotional about it. But you can't be as emotionally angry at the play on the court at times and then be mad when the fans are upset with how the game's going, or aren't excited to stand up and cheer when we're down 14-2 to Murray State at home. You know what I mean? And I get, like, probably from the inside looking out, you're like, these people should just be blindly loyal and supportive. And that's, I think in a perfect world, maybe that's how it would be, but that's just not the case. And there's a lot of people that come to that arena every night that invest a lot of money in this program, beyond tickets, right? I mean,
Time.
Braves Club and BSS and the golf outing and everything. I mean, there's a lot of people that have a lot invested in this program. Yeah, time and money. And so if those people want to be pissed about what's happening, they have a right to be, in my opinion. And so, or if they don't want to stand up and cheer when it's 14-2, they have a right to do that. And he has a right to be mad about it, and that's fine. But like, you've created the expectation, which is fine. That's what we want. We want that to be the expectation. We love the fact that you want this team to be held accountable, but like, you have to let them be held accountable, even if it is by the fans sometimes.
Now, I want to address this. So Kenny's saying now, say one nice thing about Wardle. And I'm sure that is sarcasm and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we do, right? I don't think anybody here is saying, like, get rid of him, or that what he's doing is
not at all.
Right?
No.
In this particular instance, when it comes to fan interactions, like, I think about this on a global scale, and I think about the programs that sell out on a consistent basis. What's the thing they all have in common, right? They consistently win, or they have consistently won for a long time. If you look at Connecticut, 2 national championships in a row, that fan base is super passionate now. But if you go back 10 years or so, maybe not, right? Because they weren't consistently winning. The one thing I'll say about Wardle is they have consistently won, and it is what it is, right? The proof is in what has been happening. But with this fan base in particular, again, we've highlighted the fact that there is some kind of a disconnect in some way. Now, I think selfishly, this group here can change some of that, because we have, right? We have here on Braves Talk with that group chat where the consistency that we're seeing here is translating. There are people like this seemingly in the woodwork, out in the woodwork, right? So I kind of agree with both of you. Like, I want coach to be passionate. I want the coach to say, like, yes, we need the fans, but at the same time, too, what happens on the court dictates how the fans feel. And that's always going to be the case with sports. So it's not a black and white issue, in my opinion. I think it's just a matter of, in this instance, the fans were frustrated, coach was frustrated, kind of talking past each other. But it didn't matter in the end, because the team came back, the crowd came back, and everybody won.
Absolutely. That's the most important thing, is that I think that the crowd eventually, I kind of maybe it's kind of one of those things, everybody processed sort of what was happening. It's like, okay, like, maybe they need us to get into this to, like, bring them along a little bit. And that's kind of what happened, right? And then the crowd kind of gets into it, we make a couple buckets, and then, like, I think that the crowd was pretty locked in the rest of the way, which was nice, because we needed it. An overtime game at home, we needed the crowd to be a factor, and it was. Speaking of the crowd being a factor, okay, the other night at Valparaiso, those of you who were in the Arc the other night at Valparaiso, man, the pizza chants during the free throws, the Go BU chants, I mean, all of this was heard very clearly through the broadcast. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely incredible. Kudos to the best fans in the Valley. Freaking Bradley fans do it like nobody else, and I absolutely love it. And so, tip of the cap to you guys. And I'm hoping maybe at some point in time, I mean, I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this wrestling coaching thing, but, hopefully at some point when that slows down a bit, maybe I can get the OG on the road and we go catch a few of these games at other venues. But
that sounds like a
absolutely
video
fantastic.
series, OG on the road.
OG on the road.
Mm-hmm.
We could definitely.
Star of the show.
It might be.
Star of the show.
He would just be in the passenger seat with his nose in his phone for however many hours we were driving.
Talking on these message boards,
where
we
we're
keep
going.
saying all the degenerates are sitting at. Anyway, fellas, let's move on to some future proceedings. On Sunday, 1 o'clock, ESPN2. It is senior night, senior day, whatever the hell you want to call it, against Northern Iowa. So We have a lot of seniors to talk about here. I don't think we're going to get into every single one of them, but Brad, why don't you kind of give us a rundown of the seniors to look forward to, and we'll probably, hopefully, be giving them some flowers next week.
Yeah, just a rundown. Obviously, so Sunday, 1:00, the Braves host Northern Iowa. And, we're going to honor some seniors before that game, being, Duke Dean, Zeke Montgomery, Christian Davis, Sam Hennessy, Cade Harkey, and Connor Dillon. And, of course, there's also Darius Hanna, Connor Linke, and Gonar Bilyu, who were honored last year. So it doesn't sound like maybe they're going to honor them this year, but this will be their last year on campus as far as I know. And, yeah, there's some speculation out there about a couple of these guys maybe having a year of eligibility left, being what Duke and Christian, I think, are the two people that are thrown out there. I don't know if there's any truth to that. It doesn't matter today. But, I hope everybody comes out. I know the people in this chat, the local ones especially, will come out for the game. This group deserves a good crowd to go out. I mean, and this is a battle for second place, right? Or for the second seed at Arch Madness, second place in the league, which is something, right? It's not nothing. It's not what we wanted, but it's still pretty damn good at the end of the day. And Northern Iowa is a good team. They're a good ball club. They beat us at their place. So there's a lot at stake in this game in regards to the postseason. Unlike our game, to end last season at Drake, there really wasn't anything on the line. It was a weird game. There's definitely something on the line here. Home game, senior day, battle for second seed, and, looking forward to being able to send these seniors out with a nice win and a good crowd. And I think we're all looking forward to that. But, Dad, I'm sure you have a few thoughts, and everyone is waiting on the edge of their seats to hear them.
100%.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I did hear the ceremonies for the seniors going to be at like 12:40. So 20 minutes before tip-off. Keep that in mind. But, yeah, I mean, I don't really have much more to add to that. I really don't.
This is exactly
I really don't have
why everyone tunes in.
Well,
That's right.
it's like I said.
Say one nice thing about Duke Dean right now. Ready, go.
One nice thing. Dude's a stud. He's a star
There
player.
you go.
Okay. Say one nice thing about Zeke Montgomery. Ready, go.
He scores
Sometimes.
sometimes.
Say one nice thing about.
though.
Say one nice thing about Christian Davis. Ready, go.
Oh, defender. He's our defender.
Okay. Say one nice thing about Sam Hennessy. Ready, go.
Keeps the bench warm.
Say one nice thing about Cade Harkey. Ready, go.
Keeps the bench warm.
Say one nice thing about Connor Dillon. Ready, go.
Unfortunately, kid's back, but man, he's a sniper when he can be out there.
I really do hope that there's a time in the postseason where, like, I don't want to be in a position. And this is no shade on Connor Dillon. I don't want to be in a position where we have to bring him in, because that would mean we're in foul trouble probably, or someone's playing really poorly, or there's an injury. But I would hope that I would love to see him have a big moment at Arch Madness or something like that, where he comes in, knocks down a big three or a couple threes to extend the lead or to get us back in a game or whatever the case may be. Gonna make a three in St. Louis, says Kevin, which is awesome. I see Joey up there. He wants a little meta take. What do you guys say about the big man over the last few games and heading down the stretch here, obviously to end the season? But how important is his production going to be at Arch Madness? Yes, meta. Ahmet Jonovic, if you've ever heard of him, number 14.
It's going to depend on the matchup. I mean, he matches up and plays well against certain teams and not so well against other teams. But the biggest thing is he's an effort guy. I mean, I don't think there's anybody, Kevin, and I'm talking to you too, that can deny that he doesn't at least come out and give you effort. I mean, tries to give you as much positive effort as possible. Fortunately, he's got the stone hands and can't catch passes cleanly, and gets out of position once in a while and can't get the rebound over a 5'11" guy because he's out of position. And then instead of going up strong, keeping the ball high, going up strong and just softly off the glass or dunking it, he's can be very productive. I mean, like I said, Northern Iowa last time was 10 points.
I don't think any of us have ever heard you be so critical of meta.
And also,
you're very critical there.
In that description, he's the walking embodiment of Braves talk, it seems.
But not all of that is necessarily constantly every game. I mean, it's not like he's a walking cluster.
Right. I like what Kramer said. Like, let's get a device that, keep just something that blocks his elbows from coming below his armpits.
Yeah.
Like, just where he's just out there strictly with his arms in the air the whole time. Like,
yep.
You make some contraption. He'll wear it at practice every day.
Yeah, he does try and move as quickly as possible.
Anytime he starts, he'll have to give high fives, not low fives. He'll come down the line with his arms in the air because they're just fixed in place.
We've gone off the rails now, boys. I mean,
This is wonderful.
It is wonderful. It absolutely is wonderful.
Top-notch content.
Here's the thing, right? So we have a question that I have saved, and I did say in the chat that we get to it. So, Levi, I want to thank you for your question. And I'm not going to ask Rick this question because we'll never get the hell out of here. So, Brad, this question is to you. Of the middle of the pack teams in the Valley, who do you think is the best matchup for us and the worst matchup for us? Rick, I'll let you answer the last one. How's that?
You should. I mean, truthfully, he's way more.
I know he is. I'm kidding. Go ahead, Rick.
He's way more in tune than I am with the rest of the league.
30 seconds.
Show me the question again.
Oh, good Lord.
Jeez. This isn't Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
It is. It really is.
Middle of the pack.
Looking at the numbers of people here plummeting as he's reading the question.
Best matchup and worst matchup at Arch Madness.
Thank you.
No, best matchup for us. Oh, geez, I'd have to say Missouri State, but they're bottom.
Well, they're going to be 12. They're not even in the same bracket.
I would have to say either Illinois State or Valparaiso, but Valparaiso can get hot on you.
Well, I mean, honestly, I agree.
Indiana State would probably be the best matchup, I think, because of all the teams. I mean, they're the ones we just totally annihilated at home.
I thought that too. Like, if there's a way they fell to like the 10-7 in that 10-7 game, I would not have any hesitation about playing Indiana State. I agree.
I agree on the UIC, the worst matchup. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. There's something to be said about.
Well, their guards outplayed us at home. Outplayed our guards,
and they're just
big time.
I think that there's just a mental aspect of this, right? Like we barely got away with one at their place. They came in and beat us at our place.
Astoundingly,
no fear.
Yeah. And there's like out of all the teams, and me and Joey were talking about this when I bumped into him at the Murray game, and I said, there's nobody that we talk about. We want to play this team or want to play that team, but like nobody wants to play Bradley. But I tell you what, like UIC might be one of the teams that like they're like bring them on, like. They might be the one team that has no trepidation at all about playing the Braves, and that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. I do not want to play either Murray State. I don't know where it'd end up, but I don't want to play Murray State and really to have my druthers against Northern Iowa again. But
you've nearly named every team in the league now.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. You know who I don't want to play, guys? The refs. That's who I don't want to play.
Oh my
God, they're bad all over the place.
To get into that.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Commissioner Jackson,
he's definitely
the
not
problem
watching,
before next year.
Promise he's not.
If you don't, you're going to have bigger problems with the safety of officials.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's terrible.
Hey, with society today, there's going to be some lunatics out there that's really going to.
No, but that's just it. There are literally, because of the lack of officials, the lack of adequate officials.
That's no excuse.
Who's gonna? You have to have someone to officiate the games. There has to be a person to officiate the games, and there's only so many people that are even qualified to do it. Right? The fact if they're good at it or not aside, there are only so many people who are qualified to do it. What consequences can you really sort of impose where you're not shooting yourself in the foot in the process? I don't know.
Well, They need some major remedial training of what is a foul and what isn't, because they're so broad. I mean, what's a foul on one end is definitely not on the other end. And it's not just, in Bradley's case, it's every game in the Valley I've seen. I mean, they're like that. It's like they pick one team. We're going to favor this team today. They can get hammered, not a foul. And they come down and just stand up there and barely get touched, and they're going to get called for a foul.
I would love, and I know that Jerry Pollard was on March to the Arch, right? I listened to, is that who it was? No, he was on the SIU deal. But I would love to have a candid conversation with a Valley official or like a former Valley official, because the current ones probably wouldn't talk to you about anything. And just to get a feel, like where's this coming from? What's happening? Like, explain to me what's going on. Because, I can't imagine that there's an explanation, but maybe there is. Maybe there's specific things they go into a game looking for from certain players. It shouldn't be that way, but maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know.
Well, it seems like we get out free throw attempted,
but we don't take the ball to the basket aggressively either.
Well,
That's
we have
why.
at times. We get guys that get killed down there.
But we have a few guys that will play to contact, but most of our guys, even if they're taking the ball to the basket, do not play to contact. We go up and we move away from contact. I mean, I don't think that we played a contact very well. It's just my opinion. I don't know shit, but that's my opinion.
Well, hell, I mean, Dean can take a 3-point shot and not be given the room to come down, and there's right in front of officials and no call.
We got to get you in the front row.
Oh, we do.
That's what we got.
We got to get him in a stripe. Sure. What the hell are you talking about? We need him out there officiating some of these games.
He'll have to, like those things they put on stairways, like the little elevator with a chair. Let's have to have one of those on the sideline just to move him up and down the floor from baseline to baseline.
As long as the calls are right, who gives a shit how he gets up and down the court?
Hey, I did see a meme on X or something like that today where someone went out looking for an elderly person in their family for a scooter, and there was one that like hit 65 mile an hour, so it's like 1,100 some odd watts or something like that.
Wow.
But anyway, I said, give me one of them and I'll run up and down the sideline.
I'm so sorry for the audio listeners who have to listen to cart talk right now.
Now you're free to see the world in your hover. I heard you go to the Grand Canyon.
That's
right.
Well,
I'm not a member, but maybe AARP.
All right, you're muted.
I think Joey's got onto something. He wants to sit with the OG court side. I think we need to figure out how to get this whole chat group.
I'm sure we could.
We need to figure this out. We need to make it happen next season. Anybody who's listening from Bradley, let's make this shit happen.
There's not enough security. There's not enough security to accommodate this whole group chat on this, on the sideline anywhere.
That's not true.
I have been called for technical before at a high school
girls basketball game. That's something to be proud of.
In Washington, back in the 70s.
Back when men were men.
Oh, his picture's up in the
the one lady official.
Wait, it was a woman official? I didn't even know this.
Oh, that's amazing. That's terrific. We're ending on a perfect note here. Levi has one more question, though, before we get into Rick's misogynistic technical fouls. But do you guys want a rematch with ISU and Arch Madness? Is the revenge game worth it, or is it too bad of a matchup? And then
championship game.
Finally wrap this stuff up. We're out of control now.
So listen, no, I mean, I think at least based on the way it looked like things will shake out, the only chance for that would be the title game. There would be nothing better than to beat the Birds for the Valley title. There would be nothing sweeter. I don't know. I mean, sure, Drake maybe, but there's just something special about beating that team.
Drake's gonna be there on Sunday.
Thank you.
Oh,
okay. Just messing with you. Anyways, no, that would be wonderful. Now, I hope they don't make it that far because they just don't deserve it. But if they do somehow find their way, I would love to beat the Redbirds for a trip to the NCAA tournament. I don't care who it is, though. Kevin says Belmont. We've seen ISU. Many would suspect Drake. It doesn't matter. Don't matter. Same mission.
That's right.
Let's get her done.
Exactly. The mission is clear. So next week starts Arch Madness, and we will be here to cover it in whatever way that we can. Right now, the schedule is a little up in the air with Brad, all this wrestling stuff he's doing. So we will figure it out. But the response that we've gotten here, everybody, this 49 minutes or whatever we've been on here has been spectacular. Y'all have been killing it. In the comments, we saw some new faces here, at least new faces to me. We're ready. So I'm so glad to be back. I'm so glad that everybody sticks with us. It blows my mind that you guys 35 days later are like, yep, we're ready to go. Jump, and you say how high or whatever the fuck it is. You know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, do you guys have any parting thoughts before we get the hell out of here?
Just excited, man. I do. Like Matt said at the top, really apologize that it's been 35 days. It's just life happens, as you guys know. I think, most of you are parents and everything else. So you kind of know the drill, and then just everything else that comes along with being an adult. And so happy to be here. I can't tell you how overwhelmed we are by the support. Like I said, it's been over a freaking month, and here you guys are right here with us doing this, and it couldn't be happier. Super excited about the Braves. Big game on Sunday. Getting ready for Arch Madness. And I think really that's all we've all been waiting for, Arch Madness. Let's find a way to get it done in St. Louis. Punch our ticket to the tournament and go make some noise.
I agree.
Yep. Yeah. I look at us all. We're all family here, to include, Wardle and the team. We all got to be considered family. We're going to, family, no one's more critical to family members than family. So, but we're going to be like that, and let's go Braves on Sunday and get down to St. Louis.
That's right. Fuck Drake, go Braves.
That's correct.
That's hashtag fuck Drake, go Braves.
Fuck everybody except Bradley.
Could not have said it better myself. I'm not really sure how to end this episode besides saying thank you. And we will be back next week to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, including Rick's new cart. Everybody, I hope this finds you well and safe. We'll talk to you next time. This is Braves Talk. The opinions and viewpoints expressed on I&C Sports are those of Matt Freites, Brad Powell, and their guests, and not necessarily those of the Matty Ice Media Network. I&C Sports is exclusively owned by Matt Freites and Brad Powell and is brought to you by the Matty Ice Media Network.